Welcome back, Endgame. We're heading into week 4 or 5. I don't know. It's really weird. I still can't get used to this because I Google stuff and I say streamers and it's like week 5 streamers. But anyways, for me, it's week 4. I think for us, it's week 4.
It's week 4
of the fantasy baseball season. And we're here to talk streamers and waiver wire pickups because it's important. And because one thing I have learned that I never thought would be worse than football. Our injuries are 10 times worse in baseball than football for some reason. So anyways, I don't want to get into that rant because we're here to help you, not to talk about our teams. So let's start, Pierre. Who are some of the guys you're looking at? And we're what? A little over 10%, maybe 15% of the way into the season here. So maybe you got to start thinking about your fab if you play in fab type of leagues. And for those who don't know, that's where you actually bid on the players. You have a dollar amount. So who are some top waiver wire? Let's start with hitters. Some of your top waiver wire ads this week that might be out there, and like how much of your fab are you willing to drop on these guys, or are you looking more for like more down the road, wanting to save your fab?
Yeah, it's always the tricky question, right? How early? I mean, again, it depends on your league, and it's highly variable depending on how deep your league is. Do you play with fab? Do you not play with fab? A lot of competitive leagues. I would assume a lot of our viewers do use some sort of fab system, or you have a waiver claim. But either way, it's still valid. It's like, okay, how soon do you go all in on a player? Use that top claim or use a lot of fab. And so I don't know. I'm just generally a little bit more patient. I'll take a wait and see approach because we've seen it, time and time again. The first week, the second week, those guys who are on fire, they will cool down very quickly, right? And so I don't want to be the guy that overreacts. I don't want to be the one who spends half my fab, and April's over. And then those guys you really need in the second half, yeah, you can't afford them because you've already spent your fab early. And that's the thing, is you really have to play the long game, because if you plan to be in it, come playoff time or the stretch to make the playoffs, however you do your league, you got to have something left in the tank. So to me, the biggest change is post All-Star break, first half to the second half. Then you see some guys catch fire. Those guys, maybe the first week right after the break ends, that's when I'll pay attention. That's when I'll maybe overpay a little bit if I need to. So I really have a ton of my fab left in most of my competitive leagues because I'm not going all in. I'll say there's a handful of guys that I would say right now have been worth it, meaning that I think if you did pay up for them, you're not going to regret it. I think the obvious one is Colton Cowser for the Orioles because he's still on fire. He's still starting. We know he's a high-end prospect. And I'd say he or any Oriole, really. Bryce Terang, I think it's still maybe a good time to sell high on him, but you're still not regretting starting him because, obviously the bases that he's stealing are coming to a crawl now, as opposed to when he was stealing a base every day for the first week. But he's still hitting. Milwaukee, that lineup is surprisingly good. And then a guy you picked up, Blaze Alexander, I think he's going to be solid because he's got that job. And he's hitting well. He's been hitting consistently. It wasn't just a hot week, a hot series. He's been hitting pretty consistently. We saw the other day the Grand Slam, which I kind of hate to remind you of because it was parked on your bench.
Yeah, that hurt, but what can you do?
Pitchers, I would say Ronel Blanco. I know I called him a sell high. I think he's still a sell high if you can sell high for him, but I think he's obviously not just putting together one or two good starts. He's been good. Jared Jones, maybe rookie of the year material. We'll see. And then Cutter Crawford's a guy I thought should have been drafted everywhere, but he wasn't. I was big on him preseason. And yeah, if you managed to pick him or Tanner Houck, your favorite, off waivers, those guys have been great. So those are the ones I think were worth it. A lot of the other guys that have been picked up, I don't feel like just because you picked up somebody, maybe you did spend whatever to get them the first week, second week, you don't have to hold on to them forever, right? You tried it out, it didn't work. Oh well, move on, right? Don't feel like, wow, but he looked so great after 1 week. That was 1 week. Okay, live and learn, move on. Because then you might miss out on the next big thing.
There you go. So there's some hitters. And now you did talk a little bit about pitchers there as well. But I know one thing. This is one thing I even knew about before playing fantasy baseball that I had heard of before. 2-pitch streamers, pitchers making 2 starts in a week, which can be very valuable to get those 2 starts in a week, especially if you're in like a weekly type of league. So let's look at that, because I know this is something a lot of people are interested in and they want to hear about. So who are some pitchers you're looking at this week that have 2 starts that you would actually consider putting in your fantasy lineup, not some terrible pitcher that gets 2 starts against a great offense?
Right. And obviously Harry here's asking that question. Favorite 2 starts. All right. Now,
here we go.
Disclaimer. These guys may not be available in your league. Who knows? But I'll throw out some players who might be, more highly owned across leagues because they're not owned everywhere. All right. So it really depends. Like I've noticed CBS, I don't know if as many people play CBS leagues, the ownership rate for most of these guys is much higher. ESPN is much lower. Right? Obviously different format if you play points or whatever. Yahoo is kind of my go-to that I reference because I think that's where most people play. And I think to me, honestly, it's the most, reasonable, realistic in terms of what I would think as far as ownership is. But all right, so let's start with Chris. That would be Chris Sanchez. Christopher Sanchez of the Phillies. He's owned in about 2/3 of Yahoo leagues. Well, if he's available, you probably should pick him up anyways, but this is the best time to pick him up, not just because he has 2 starts, but Cincinnati and San Diego, not too bad. Cincinnati, they've got some offensive potential, but they're not exactly lighting it up. Prone to strikeouts, especially a lot of their players. And San Diego's been pretty good lately, but still not a scary offense. And Sanchez is just a guy who I feel pretty secure. He's not a pitcher who tends to get blown up. Like when he's off, he's not going to just be completely off, right? He's not giving up 10 runs in 2 innings or something like that. So Sanchez, if he's out there, definite grab. Next up is Andrew Abbott for the Reds. I will stay with this one, and I mentioned him in the waiver wire video. The only thing with Abbott is I don't love his schedule this week because he goes against the Phillies. Got some power in that lineup. Texas, obviously a good team, although they do have some injuries. But it's just a little risky. I'll just say that. Abbott's the guy I'm probably most scared of out of the guys I'm going to recommend. So I would say stream with caution if you do get Abbott. But he's a guy, he's been really good so far in all his starts. Let's see if he can keep it going. And then on the other side, probably the guy I feel like is maybe the highest floor, but definitely not the highest ceiling, is Jose Quintana. Solid. Not going to be spectacular, but he's probably got the best schedule here. He gets the Giants in San Francisco. Definitely doesn't feel like that's going to be a high-scoring game. And then St. Louis, which I think I'm just ready to admit that offense is just not going to be any better than last year. Like, just not. Don't know what's going on in St. Louis. Maybe they need a new hitting coach or something. But, yeah, Cardinals feels like a pretty strong outing there. Not going to get you a ton of Ks necessarily, but should definitely be solid for ratios. He might pull out 2 wins for you. Who knows? But also he should get enough innings where he'll get you some quality starts. And who doesn't want that? Now, on the flip side, Chris Paddock of the Twins. Probably not going to get you quality starts because they're not going to stretch him out too long. Maybe won't get you any wins either because, he's still playing for Minnesota. But only reason I'm going to mention Chris Paddock this week is he gets the White Sox, which feels like a gimme, and then the Angels. So definitely a good schedule. Still some risk. We'll see what we can get out of him. Some people thought he was a really intriguing streamer, sleeper this year. I'm not all aboard Paddock, but he's got some potential this week. Again, we're getting deeper here. Those first 3 guys are gone. You can look to Paddock. And then a guy I have not been on, Eric Fetty. Well, he gets the Twins, so there you go. That's why you got to like him. Remember, the Twins, not just the worst offense in baseball, but right now, historically bad. And those are some words you want to see when you're looking for streamers. Historically bad offense. So why not? You can fire up anybody against the Twins or the White Sox and feel pretty good. And then Tampa Bay, whose offense has been pretty sluggish lately. So don't mind him just because of the schedule. And then the guy you saw on the cover, Keaton Wynn in San Francisco. San Francisco's gotten some good pitching so far. Wynn, not a guy with a high strikeout rate, but the fact that he's going against the Mets and the Pirates feels like a pretty good week to stream him for 2 starts. He should be a pretty good ratio stabilizer. So pretty good for your ERA and whip. Maybe not the strikeouts, but he'll be fine. And then the last one I want to mention is Bailey Falter. Interesting because he gets Milwaukee, and I just said Milwaukee right now is second best in terms of team batting average. So not a great matchup for him, but then he gets the Giants next at San Francisco. Again, good venue, not a scary offense whatsoever. So definitely like the second matchup better. What's interesting with him is even though as a lefty, you want to avoid heavy right-handed lineups. For some reason this year, again, very small sample, he's been better against left-handed batters. Against right-handed batters than left-handed batters. Don't know why, but there you go. Milwaukee maybe cooling down a little bit. Obviously, Yelich not 100%. So I'm not too scared off him. But again, this is deep. We're getting deep here, right? If you're a deep league, then Falter is a guy that you could stream.
All right, there you go. Answer Harry's questions and anybody else's question who has looking for some 2-start streamers this week, or some hitter streamers, or just pitcher streamers. All right, let's get to the questions. That's why you're all here, I'm sure. Really quick, let me remind you of a couple things. Number one, if you haven't tried Underdog Fantasy yet, there's still time today. We got one more game left. Texas at Atlanta. They also have in-game, so with the games going on, you could also do that. You make your picks here, all sorts of different things you can see on the screen, all sorts of players. I mean, like just a zillion different things you could pick. I mean, Ronald Acuna here, you can just see has so many choices. It's a lot of fun. You just make a couple picks, like he's gonna score a run, and somebody else on the other team. I think you got to pick from the other team, but let's just go. Okay, here he's gonna get higher base, and then you pick your amount, and you can double your entry here. So just go higher or lower on all these picks. It's a ton of fun. Make sure when you sign up, though, you do use our promo code Endgame, so you get a deposit match up to $100. They're just going to give you free money to try it out. Just go get free money to try it out. If you don't like it, no worries. You don't have to do no commitment. If you like it, hey, which you will, keep going. Use their free money. Maybe win some money on your own. Why not? And then the other reminder, we're going to get to as many questions as we can. I think we're going to try to cut it off at an hour because it does go kind of long. And I think we're going to, speaking of Underdog, I think we're going to be doing an Underdog draft after this for football. So we're going to cut it off for an hour. We'll try to get through as many questions as we can. If you want to guarantee that your question gets answered, or you want to move to the front of the line, or you just want to support the channel, feel free to drop a super chat of any amount. We'll be very appreciative of that, and we will answer your question first before everybody else. All right. Tyler Durden starting us off. He was here over an hour ago. Tyler, what's up? So he's a Michael King owner. So am I, and I've actually been pleased with Michael King so far. But someone offered Seth Lugo for him. So pitcher for pitcher trade. Is this just lateral, or do you do it, or how do you feel?
I mean, no, I wouldn't do this anyways. And I'd say that even before today, but just so happened today, I think Lugo started. Let me check his final line. I know it wasn't that great. Not that, you want to take just one start into account or his last start, but like for today, a little bit of regression hit here. Got his first loss, 4 innings and 5 1/3. 4 runs in 5 1/3 innings, only 1 strikeout. That's the main issue with Lugo is he's usually pretty solid, but not a ton of strikeouts. I definitely prefer King. Seth Lugo, let's be honest, was just a waiver wire pickup, right? He wasn't drafted. Somebody scooped him up and they're trying to get King. King started out a little bit rough, but now we're seeing, obviously his last start where he had a no-no going pretty deep. We're seeing what he's capable of. So no, keep King for sure.
All right. Yeah, I've been pretty happy with King so far. And then also he's asking, would you drop Langford or Haniger for Kerry Carpenter?
No, I kind of liked Kerry Carpenter preseason. He's been off to a rough start too. He's starting to pick it up, but I'm not going to drop those guys for him, especially Langford. I know Langford hasn't really gotten it going yet, but we know what he can do. So no, I wouldn't do this either.
All right. Thanks for the questions, Tyler. Now let's move on to Joseph with a dynasty question. Is Ellie De La Cruz the only hitter you would trade for Jared Jones 1-for-1 in a dynasty league?
Ooh, the dynasty. No, not the only hitter. I don't think I would. I think I'd rather have Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, Jared Jones has been good. I'm not going to say Jared Jones is, my number one dynasty pitcher as of right now, just because the way he started. So, no, I think if you're trying to get Jones, you shouldn't have to give up Ellie De La Cruz, honestly. Not that it's totally unfair, but no, there's probably some other hitters you go down the line and trade some other guys for Jones. I mean, if somebody's asking for that or more, just, don't do it. Just let's also remember this. The risk is a lot higher for a young pitcher for obvious reasons. I mean, we've seen. And you have a guy who looks great now, and then the next day he hits the IL. So I'm always going to err to the side of the hitter in general. So, no, if you're asking me straight up, I'd rather keep De La Cruz.
Yeah, that is another thing I'm learning with baseball so far is pitchers so risky. They're like riskier than running backs in fantasy. Crazy. Football. It's crazy. All right, William has a trade question, but not dynasty this time, or at least I don't think it's dynasty. He didn't say dynasty. He traded Nico Horner for Brian Bello. What are your thoughts on that move?
Well, preseason, if you said this, people were like, why would you do that? That's crazy. I don't think that you'll regret this necessarily. Bello has been solid. Now, Bello, I don't know that he has, another level other than I think what he's doing right now feels close to his ceiling, if that makes sense. But I think he's going to be able to sustain it. I think he could be a solid kind of mid-rotation guy. I think Horner was being overvalued compared to last year because of all the steals. He had what I think was his career year. So I feel like Horner was a little bit overdrafted. Bello was a little bit underdrafted, undervalued preseason. So I think this will turn out to be pretty fair on both sides. Now, right, I will say that maybe could have got something more. I know Horner hasn't been great so far this year, but still, maybe could have got something more. But I don't think he'll regret this.
All right. Fair deal, it sounds like. Let's see. Jay Grizz, not really a question, but he's saying he's starting to think Nolan Gorman is a definite drop. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'm starting to think anybody in St. Louis is a drop. I mean, that offense just... what is going on? I'm serious. I mean, we got to start taking a look around at the hitting coach or what's going on. Gorman will probably come back at some point, have a hot streak. He's a slugger. He's going to be streaky. So at some point he'll get it going. But I'm not going to say you have to hold on to him. You don't. Depends how deep your league is.
What about Goldschmidt? Asking for a friend. I'm asking for.
Well, now Goldschmidt, you don't drop. But okay. You could like rage bench him.
Yeah, I would if I actually had somebody on my bench who was actually playing baseball instead of sitting on the bench eating sunflower seeds, watching the game. But let's move on. And I like this one because I also picked up Luis Severino, and he's been really good. So anyways, not really a question, but he does have an actual question. What are your thoughts on Reynaldo Lopez?
And again, he's a guy who I feel like he's going to get a little overhyped because he's in Atlanta. It just happens, right? Certain players, certain teams going to get a little bit more hype. He's never been good as a starter. It just hasn't. This is why he got transitioned to the bullpen. That's why he flopped around a couple teams. Now he's with Atlanta. Came as a reliever. They're starting him out of necessity. So we'll see. He's been good so far. I know everybody's all over him, but I kind of always feel like I'm waiting for the hammer to drop, right? He has that outing where he gets shelled. And I don't want to have that, right? He's one of those guys that I'm afraid I go pick him up, put him in my lineup, and then he just gets rocked. And you're like, why did I do that? So if you have him, I would flip him. I would say flip him right now. If he's out there, sure, pick him up and then flip him.
All right, there you go. Pick him up and flip him. All right, Gamaxco, what's up? Welcome back. Wants to know, should I trade Crochet or wait on him? And who do you think I could trade for with Crochet and Turnbull? So I guess the first question is trade Crochet or hold him, and then if he tried to package Crochet and Turnbull, who should he be looking to get, I guess?
Yeah, Crochet was great, and then now he had his outing, right, where he got crushed. So I would just say wait. This isn't the time to trade away a guy just after a bad outing, right? I think you should probably just hold on him. Turnbull, I would definitely look to flip though, because again, he's due for his negative regression. Now, if you want to package these two guys, you can do it, but I honestly don't know how much you can expect back in exchange for guys like this. These are both waiver wire pickups. Let's just be honest. And most savvy owners aren't going to give you one of their good starters for somebody that you just picked up off waivers. So you're probably best just holding here and see what happens.
All right. Thank you for that. Welcome back. Good to see you again. All right, William with another one. Should I trade Jesus Luzardo? And if so, are there any infielders he could get in return?
You could trade Jesus Luzardo, but again, he's coming off a decent outing. He was okay against the Cubs. I feel like his value is a little bit lower than it was preseason. Infielder you can get in return, not a stud. You could, you should do, and the buy low video is coming out later this week. But if you talk about a guy that kind of struggling, maybe somebody's ready to move on. If you're talking specifically, okay, you just said infielder, not any middle infielder, but Xander Bogaerts finally today did something, but maybe you could buy low for him. O'Neal Cruz, still a ton of upside. He's been kind of struggling lately. You could, try to buy low on one of those players.
All right, there you go. Fantasy sports, welcome back. How would you rank these starting pitchers? By the way, picked up anyways. I don't want to air my frustrations.
Hey, let it
Flaherty. I feel like I've made so many good waiver moves. Like I picked up Severino, I picked up Flaherty, I picked up Edward Cabrera. I made all these great waiver moves at pitcher. And it doesn't matter who I pick up on a hitter, they just get hurt. And I can't even set a lineup. But anyways, let's move on. There was somebody commenting somebody commented a couple of guys, oh, fantasy baseball is all skill and fantasy football is all luck. No. they're both skill and luck. Deal with it.
It's not that easy.
Like there's certainly skill, but there's also an element of luck. But anyways, let's move on. Let's rank these pitchers for fantasy sports. I'm rage whatever right now because my hitters are so bad and I should have won this week and I'm going to lose because of my hitting and people not playing. But anyways, rank these starting pitchers for him.
If we're talking rest of the season, I'm going to go Flaherty number 1 because, there'll be ups and downs like any pitcher. I mean, I think I like his K upside the best. I like his ability to be really good in individual outings better to help you out on a weekly basis. Don't know if you're talking roto, weekly head-to-head or whatever, but I'll go Flaherty number 1. I'm going to put Bello 2, and I'm going to put Harrison 3, and mainly because of the strikeouts. Harrison might get you about a K per inning, maybe a little bit less. So that's what I'll go. I'll go Flaherty first.
That's what I like to hear. All right, who's second?
Oh, Bello second, and then Harrison third.
Okay. All right, so I like to hear. Like to hear my boy Flaherty first. He's been great for me. All right, Anthony, what is up, Anthony? Good to see you. So before we get to the question, he did say at the end, it's a keeper league, and it will only cost a 12th round pick next year. So knowing that, would you hang on to Paul Skeens or trade him for a guy that was somewhere like in the 4th round range this year?
You got to hold on to him right now. Just keep him. Only cost you a 12th round pick. Just keep him. I mean, the only way you flip a guy like this think about how much helium he's getting already. He hasn't even debuted yet. Just wait until he actually pitches in the majors and strikes some guys out. You got to keep him right now because his value should only go up. So yeah, just hold on. If it gets outrageous, like if he just is dominant, and then of course if that's the case, if he comes up and he's dominating major league hitters, you're probably not going to want to get rid of him either. But only then would you consider it. So nah, just hold on.
I mean, that's without even knowing too much, without even knowing fantasy baseball that much. I got to think this time, like next year in drafts, Paul Skeens, unless he has the dreaded T word.
No, don't even put that on.
Could happen. He's got to be like at least like going to go inside the top 5 rounds, right? I would think probably something like that.
Well, the real question is how much will he pitch this year? But even so, we know that he doesn't have to have great numbers, because next year everyone's going to project it on him, and you say, okay, this year, just wait till we get a whole year of him. Now he's going to dominate. He's going to. So yeah, this guy again, his value can only go up.
All right, fantasy sports with another one, head-to-head points league redraft. I guess position not an issue. How would you rank these hitters? Nathaniel Lowe, Kerry Carpenter, Varsho, MJ Melendez, and Verdugo.
Good question. All right, so Lowe just came back. Pretty solid in a points league. Carpenter hopefully will be. Now, Varsho is interesting. He's on fire lately, but in points league, he's going to take a hit because he strikes out a fair amount, doesn't walk a lot, doesn't hit for average, really. So I feel like right now, Varsho's a guy that looks like the most valuable, but I don't think he will be by year's end. Verdugo is kind of the opposite. Verdugo's a guy who doesn't strike out that much, usually hits for average, but I just talked about Verdugo, maybe a week and a half ago, the sell high. I just see Verdugo being pretty meh for fantasy these days, and his career trajectory is not on the upward swing. So I'm actually just going to kind of push Verdugo to the end here, just because he doesn't interest me enough. I'll put Melendez just ahead of him because also issues with plate discipline. Hasn't really caught, even as good as the Royals have been offensively lately, he hasn't really caught on. I guess I'm still kind of waiting for Carpenter to show more. I really thought Carpenter would be better and the whole Tigers offense would be better. I'll plop him in the middle. So I'll go Lowe, Varsho, Carpenter, Melendez, Verdugo.
All right, there you go. All right, V-Rush. Should he hold on to Randy Arozarena, or is he droppable because he's untradeable based on the numbers he's putting up?
He's okay, maybe untradeable, but he is undroppable. You cannot drop a guy like that. No. You can bench him, out of frustration, but you will definitely regret dropping a guy like that. He's way too good. Remember, this is a top 50 pick in fantasy for a reason. So no, do not drop him.
All right, we got a super chat from Cedric Bowen. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. So let's jump him to the front of the line. Would you drop Velasquez for? Is that
Brian De La
Cruz? Yeah, not Ellie. So would you drop Velasquez for the other De La Cruz?
All right, good question. So in a points league is different here, right? Because Velasquez, a power hitter, that's really his calling card, right? Looking for some home runs. De La Cruz, more of a power hitter. I mean, I guess, but he's a little bit more balanced than Velasquez. I had more interest in Velasquez before De La Cruz during draft season. But what's interesting now is we're seeing that De La Cruz is bumped up to like third in the lineup. Now, again, granted, this is not a very good lineup because it's the Marlins. But he's hitting for power about as well as Velasquez. He should wind up with more counting stats because of that. Because Velasquez is hitting like 6th or 7th most days. De La Cruz, if he's going to hit third, he should score a little bit more. He should drive in some more runs. He's looked like the most consistent player in that lineup, just to be honest. So I think, yes, you can do this. I'd go for De La Cruz, especially because he's been hitting pretty well lately. I mean, it's pretty close here, though, right? I still like Velasquez, but in a points league, I think you're going to get a little bit more out of De La Cruz.
All right, there you go. Thank you for the question and for the super chat. We definitely appreciate it. All right, back-to-back Nate dropped Tanner Scott for Kirby Yates in a saves league, and now he's questioning if he made the wrong move after Scott got back-to-back saves. So you pick Scott back up.
Yeah, pick Scott back up. I know it looked pretty shaky there, right? After Scott blew a save and his ERA looked bad, but now he's got it back under control. Again, it's really easy for a reliever to look bad early in the season. Any guy who's getting saves on the regular has value. So what I would do here is I would pick up Scott again. And if you feel like you have too many closers or like you don't need that many, go ahead and try to sell high on Yates. There's no guarantee he's the closer the rest of the season. There isn't. When's the last time the Rangers really had a guy from wire to wire that was the guy there? Yates, last time he was a full-time closer was, what did I say it was, 2019? You can't say there's no risk here. Like, he's just a sure thing. So, yeah, I would pick up Scott again.
All right. There you go. Get Scott if you can. Hopefully you can pick him back up. All right. Anthony dropping a super chat. Thank you. Says, thanks, guys, for all the time and hard work in baseball and football. Thank you for always watching and asking questions. Appreciate it. Do you think Luis Garcia is finally growing into himself and will be more than solid moving forward?
I do.
He wants your honest input, so don't give him the answer you think he wants to hear.
All right. Well, honestly, yeah, I like Garcia because I mentioned him on last week's waiver wire. He's definitely somebody who is, like you said, I guess, growing into his potential. They pushed him up really young, and he had some ups and then he had some downs, and it looked like they might move away from him if he didn't respond this season. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe he's got the fire lit under him right now because he's performing. He's got good power. He'll steal a few bases. And, man, if he's going to hit cleanup, last time I checked, in fact, I don't know about today, but they pushed him up in the lineup. And that's huge because, again, it makes such a difference. Yep, sure enough, today, hitting cleanup, 3 hits, 2 RBIs. I'm taking him seriously. Abrams has been great again. Winker is actually still doing a good job setting the table in front of him. He's going to have RBI opportunities. That bottom of the order is still a little frightening. But look, just think. What if we get James Wood? What if we eventually get Dylan Cruz? So, yeah, I'm picking up Garcia if he's out there. Especially, I mentioned this, Ozzie Albies on the shelf. You need a replacement. He's probably the top choice.
All right, there you go. Feeling good about him. Thank you, Anthony. And Cedric with another one. Thank you. Green, Miller, Diaz, Stone. Upgrade anywhere? So I'm guessing this is his rotation, and he's asking if he should be looking to upgrade anywhere. I'm guessing.
Okay, well, I don't know. We got a mix of players here. Okay, so Diaz, you just keep. Miller, I'm keeping Miller. I know his value has shot up, but I would say hold on to him. I still am all over Green. He's been a little inconsistent. We expected that, right? He's not going to be dominant every outing, but his strikeout upside's huge. So Stone, I do still like Stone. I mean, I think I'm going to, he's not a guy you're really going to get much for in a trade. No, I mean, I think I'd be happy to have all those guys on my team, I guess, to put it that way. Now, I don't know who else you have as far as pitchers, because this is just a few of your guys. But no, I would just say probably hold on to these guys. I don't think there's anybody here that I would be unhappy with.
All right, there you go. Thank you again for that. William says last question. Thank you as always for your insight. Hunter Green has 2 starts next week, home versus Philly and at Texas on Saturday. Which one, if either, would you feel better about?
I actually feel a little bit better about the Texas game, even though it's a road game, but that's actually good for a guy like Green because Cincinnati ballpark is worse. And Texas, they're not still at full strength, but also the young guys, Carter and Langford, haven't gotten going. So even though it is still mostly a potent lineup, I think I feel better about that start than the Philly start.
All right. And then Cedric, I think follow up, he says he has the Seattle pitching staff and he picked up Cabrera.
I'm all over the Seattle pitching staff. I was in on basically all of them. So yeah, if you got them, you're good. I like your pitching staff. Then you have a lot of players I've drafted in different leagues. So yeah. Oh, Edward Cabrera picked him up. You picked him up, right?
I did, and he wasn't as good today, but he was still pretty good. Gave up a few runs. I only went 5 innings. I could have used that extra inning for the quality start, but oh well. Still feeling good. He struck out. I think he struck out like 7 or 8. So
yeah, and that's one thing. Cabrera. I think the main thing with him is just watch if he's walking guys. He walked 3 batters today, so it's not too bad. He's going to get strikeouts. The question is he going to get himself into trouble? So pick your spots with Cabrera still. I'm not going to necessarily start him every time out there, but yeah, Cedric, looks like you got a pretty good pitching staff.
All right, thank you again for that. And then Max Go again. What do you think about Nick Lodolo? Had 2 quality starts, but they were against 2 of the worst offenses. Now he's got the Phillies. Are you rolling them out there?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. A young pitcher like this who can look dominant sometimes and then can look terrible at other times. So that's going to be a risky start right there, playing against a team like the Phillies. I would say, look, when I have this kind of decision, more often than not, I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to sit a guy like that because I know what could happen. And especially if you're in a weekly league, it really is going to depend. If you're early in the week and you don't want to risk getting your ERA wrecked, like just don't take a chance. Now, if it's later in the week or midweek and you're like, okay, I'm behind in strikeouts and this guy could put up 10 strikeouts, then I'll roll him out there. Or maybe my ERA is already wrecked because somebody else got a little like, okay, so what do I have to lose? At least I can get some strikeouts. Maybe I'll get a win or whatever. So it kind of depends in that case. But for the most part, when it's a high risk, volatile kind of pitcher against a pretty good offense, I tend to be a little bit more conservative.
All right. And then Cedric did just want to say that first year playing fantasy. Welcome to the first year club, Cedric. He spent 2 months watching you, so
awesome.
Hopefully he's off to a better start than I am.
All right. Well, that explains why you got so many pitchers I like.
Yes. All right. TM asking, would you trade Ellie De La Cruz for Julio Rodriguez in a keeper league?
Wow. In a keeper league. I would still rather have Julio Rodriguez. I'm not going to move off of my preseason valuation of these guys based on just what they've done the first couple of weeks. Julio Rodriguez is, I think, in a keeper dynasty format, pretty much the number 2 player in that format behind Ronald Acuna. I mean, I can't think of players I really would prefer. So if you're getting Julio, I would get Julio.
All right, go get Julio. Slappy Julio. All right, Wilson, with a keen eye, saw that Keaton Wynn is on the thumbnail. Are you saying we should be picking him up? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're implying with the thumbnail?
Yeah. Well, again, topic when we talked about this earlier. Anybody who didn't catch the very, very beginning had a question, and we were going to talk about streamers, right? Top 2 start streamers for this coming week, and Keaton Wynn is one of my favorites. So he's not a must add. Like, I'm not going to go out and say you have to pick him up. I didn't put him on the waiver wire video last week. I'm not saying, he's going to be dominant. But are you looking for a streamer? He's got a pretty good schedule. The strikeouts, again, that he's not a high strikeout type of pitcher, but he should keep your ratios pretty low. He's probably one of the best streaming options that will be out there in most leagues.
All right, there you go. Good eye on the thumbnail. And then also asking, who's a better stash, Carlos Correa or JD Martinez?
Interesting. Yeah, where is JD Martinez? He's supposed to be playing by now. Well, hopefully he's ready soon. I think JD still has more upside than Correa. If you're just stashing one, he should be maybe a week or so. We'll see JD play. So if you got to pick one, I'd go Martinez.
And then one more. What about Lance Lynn? Are you picking him up?
No, sorry, not falling for it.
All right, there you go. Faith No More. That's an old school band, although spelled way differently here. Should he hold on to Cody Bradford, or do you think he's going to get bumped down when he comes back from IL?
Yeah, he might, because that's the thing with the Rangers now. Lorenzen, who had been out, he finally is back in the rotation. They might not have a space for Bradford, and who knows? So I don't think you have to hold on to him. I don't think you have to. Now, obviously, if you got him on the IL, if you don't need to drop him, then, don't drop him and see what happens. But I don't assume that he is going to get a rotation spot back just because he was really good for his first 3 starts.
All right. And then back to back. Also, remember, he was the one who dropped Tanner Scott for the guy's name. I wanted to say Kenny Rogers, but that's not his name. But that would be funny. Wasn't there a baseball player named Kenny Rogers?
There was. He pitched for a long time. He was a Ranger. He was where else did he pitch? Oakland, I think.
That's right. Okay, he dropped Tanner Scott for Kyle Yates, not Kenny Rogers. Not even close.
Oh yeah, Kirby Yates.
Kirby Yates. Kyle Yates is the football guy. So are you prioritizing Tanner Scott over Pete Fairbanks?
Very similar here. Yeah, so you do seem to have a lot of mid-tier closers, right? I don't want to drop a guy. Usually a guy who's got that job as the closer for his team, for sure, is going to have value. So I would try to keep both. It's not a good time to trade either of these guys because, they're coming off rough outings. So again, I would say pick up Scott, keep Fairbanks, try to trade Yates right now while he's got pretty good value.
All right, there you go. And then TM again. Now I don't think it's not Adams, right? Adames or something like that. Adames. For Garcia Jr. Who do you like?
Yeah, Adames. I don't know. He hasn't really gotten going. I hate to drop him, but yeah, actually, he's not doing too badly so far. I don't think I would drop Adames. No, I don't think Garcia has a higher ceiling than Adames so far. And again, Milwaukee's lineup has been pretty hot, so I don't think so. I don't think you need to drop Adames for him.
Yeah, speaking of, I think we missed this one, Milwaukee lineup. Is Reese Hopkins droppable? He's like boomer bust. He either hits a home run or he does nothing.
That's it. Exactly. He's more of a streamer. He's a DFS kind of play. He's okay if you're in a deep enough league. You need a corner infielder. You could set it there, and by the end of the year, you're like, okay, you got me some home runs, some RBIs. But he's not a guy you have to hold on to. So droppable, probably.
All right. Well, I'm going to drop him. Mike Easy, what about Hector Neris as a closer for the Cubs?
Yeah, this seems like this might happen. Alzolay just keeps blowing saves here and there. And he was never even given that job security before the season, right? Council wouldn't name a guy. And then they brought Neris in. He's got experience. But I feel like this is going to be really a frustrating situation rest of the year anyways. I don't feel like it's going to just be one guy. So I'm not going to count on Neris, but he's a guy, you can keep him in there anyways at your relief pitcher spot because he gets you some strikeouts. He should be okay for your ratios, but I don't know that he'll be the closer permanently.
All right. Anthony with a couple first. Are we going to drop a link for the football? We're going to do an underdog draft, so you can try to get in there with us, but if you just go over to the football channel after we're done here, you should see the stream up. Okay, but then his baseball question. Zach Littell, I feel like we've talked about him every week at some point. All right, what's your take on him? He's been throwing him in a relief pitcher.
Yeah, should be pretty solid. That guy's going to blow you away or blow hitters away, but again, in Tampa, they've done some good things with him. He's been striking out a little bit more batters than I expected. So, yeah, I like Littell. I think he should be pretty solid rest of the year.
All right. And then saying God with a trade question. Did he win or lose these trades? Trade number 1, Bryce Miller for Johan Duran.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, I love Bryce Miller. He's been great. He's been amazing so far this year. But if you need saves, I mean, I guess it's not really a win or lose kind of thing. It's like, what do you need? If you really needed a closer, you can't argue against Durant. I would probably prefer having Miller, but it might be better for your team if you have Durant.
All right. And then trade number 2, Zach Littell and Javier Assad for Aaron Savale and Tristan McKenzie.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, I kind of view the Tampa pitchers pretty much the same. I mean, they're not too different altogether. McKenzie and Assad, that's where it gets interesting. I think I'd still rather have McKenzie. I know he's been very consistent, and Assad has looked really good. But I still don't know if we're guaranteed Assad is in the rotation the rest of the year when Justin Steele comes back. So McKenzie's riskier, but I think I'd probably prefer the Savale McKenzie side because I still have some faith in McKenzie.
All right, there you go. So hopefully you won both those. Another trade question from Stefan. Kauser and Alzale for Rodriguez, Julio Rodriguez, and Verlander. Is there another Rodriguez? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Rodriguez's, but...
Well, that's why. Which Rodriguez are we talking about? Are we talking Julio Rodriguez? I think I need
Roto non-keeper. I mean, assuming Julio Rodriguez, which side do you want?
Okay, let's. I want to make sure here. If you're talking about Julio Rodriguez, to get Julio Rodriguez and Verlander, yeah, I would definitely have the Julio Rodriguez side. Guys, Julio Rodriguez not been great. Okay, it's the Julio side. It's clearly the Julio side.
Slapio. Guy over here just slap singles.
He just you wait. Just you wait.
All right. So there you go. So back to the trade. Where was it? Right here. So the Rodriguez Verlander side by a mile. Sounds like.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Alex saying add Mitchell Park or Jake Irvin. He just lost Montes.
Yeah. And DL Hall, I'm guessing. Yeah, DL Hall is probably like a mercy IL stint for him. So, Parker was good today. I think I'm going to go ahead and recommend Mitchell Parker going forward. Irvin, I'm going to wait a little bit on. We'll see with him. But yeah, I'd say you can add Mitchell Parker. And yes, just drop. I don't think you have to even stash either of those guys, Montes and DL. Just drop them.
All right. TM saying in redraft head-to-head points, how would you rank CES? It's funny, we got CES, Nathaniel Lowe, Hoskins, and Bush.
Okay, so points head-to-head. How do I rank them? I'm going to put Hoskins last. I think I'm going to go ahead and not just because he's starting out hot, but I like Bush. I liked him a lot preseason. I'm going to put Bush first. And I think for points, you probably have to put CES a little bit lower. So go Bush, Lowe, Encarnacion, and then Hoskins.
All right. There we go. And then Alex again in a points league. Yeah, I meant DL Hall. Yeah. Okay. Yep, following up there. All right. Saying God again. Who do you prefer rest of the season? Shota Manga, Zach Wheeler, or Tyler Glasnow?
All right. Well, I think Wheeler's still got to be the number one choice here. I mean, I love Imanaga. I was big on him preseason, but he hasn't quite got to Zach Wheeler level just yet. Glasnow, I think, still has to be number two. So I mean, I hate to say it, but I think Shota has got to be third here. So Wheeler, Glasnow, and then Imanaga would be my preference, but it's pretty close.
All right, there we go. And then Solomon asking Ginkle or Piamps? How do you pronounce
Solomon
it?
Grundy, born on a Monday. Or was it a Sunday? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it was a Sunday. I go Ginkle. I'm not buying into anybody in that Milwaukee bullpen right now. I was all over Uribe, still have Uribe. Hopefully he gets that job back, but go Ginkle. Seawald doesn't seem to be ready to come back anytime real soon.
All right. Oops. Okay, well, we'll skip ahead. I skipped a question because it got pushed up, but we'll go back to it. Sayan God asking, when do you predict Junior Caminero and Christian Scott to come up?
Worked it backwards. Scott, not sure because they gave Jose Buto a chance and he was good, and then he was just okay last time. I don't know that we'll see Christian Scott yet real soon. So I think if they don't need to, might not see him till June. Junior Caminero, hopefully soon. He's back. Gonna say it's still gonna be a couple of weeks off, but hopefully we see him like by mid-May.
All right, hopefully by mid-May. And then the question I skipped is Carlos Correa worth the stash if you don't have an IL spot?
It depends how deep your bench is. Yeah, I'd say generally speaking, worth a stash. I don't know exactly his timeline, how far off. He shouldn't be gone too much longer, but I can't say that I know off the top of my head exactly when he's supposed to come back. So he's beginning baseball activities next week. Yeah, you're still gonna have to stash him at least another week. So as long as it doesn't hurt you in terms of being able to play guys, then yeah, generally worth a stash.
All right. And then back-to-back Nate again. Who wins this trade? One team gets George Kirby and Gleyber Torres. The other gets Marcus Semien.
I'll take the Kirby Torres side because I think you're not losing a ton at second base. I still like Torres rest of the season, slow start, but I think he'll still be definitely serviceable. You're getting a frontline starter. It's just so valuable to get a guy like Kirby. So I would take that first side.
All right. Thank you for the question. It looks like we are all caught up. We're coming up to the top of the hour as it stands. So if you want to get your last second questions in. Oh, we just got one. Cedric again. Thank you so much. Who can I stash Caminero for my bench due to injury? Casas, Langford, Camposano, Ozzy Albies, Tyler O'Neill, Beatty Royce. You have all those guys on the IL? I don't even feel so bad anymore.
That is, yeah, you got a lot of injured players there.
Yeah, all those guys are really on the IL?
Who?
Are all those guys really on the IL?
No, they're not all on the IL.
Oh, I was going to say.
Yeah, so several of them are. Casas just happens. That hurts because he was just starting to heat up, and man, that hurts. Ozzy, of course, always hurts. Royce, you're going to have to stash for a while. Who's asking who can I stash Caminero for on my bench? Are you asking who to drop? Is that what you're asking? That's what I'm not sure. I don't want to. Well, if you don't need Camposano, I don't know who else your catcher is. You don't have to hold on to him if you already have, a decent catcher. Yeah, I think it's worth stashing Caminero, definitely. But yeah, and Beatty. You don't have to keep Beatty. I think you can drop either Beatty or Camposano if you don't really need them, because Caminero is going to come up. He'll, if you're going to put him in your lineup, same position as Beatty.
All right, there you go. And we got some in here at the wire, as we often do. Yakir saying, who's worth the roster spot? Will Benson, Jose Siri, Ahmed Rosario.
Yeah, I really like Will Benson. He was hot start, and now he's definitely cooled off. I didn't realize, just looked at his average is down to 197, but he'll bounce back. So I know Rosario right now is definitely the hot hand. I would say go with the hot hand here. Get Rosario, play him while he's hitting, and then when he stops, you could probably pick up Benson again because he's not hot.
All right, there you go. Ride the hot hand. Wilson trade C.J. Abrams and Edwin Diaz. Oh, trade C.J. Abrams for Edwin Diaz and Edward Cabrera.
I mean, that's tempting, but risky. I think I'd rather have Abrams there. I mean, even if you really need saves, you could still cobble together saves from the waiver wire or make a lesser deal. I think the way Abrams is playing, I don't think you want to give him up for that.
All right, and then Dave White, Oswaldo Garcia Jr. or Geloff in redraft.
Yeah, Garcia, another guy who looked great early, and now all of a sudden that average has tanked, but I think he'll bounce back. I think you still have to like Garcia better than Geloff because one offense is actually legit. The other one is Oakland. But I'm going to go... Yeah, I'm still going to go Garcia above Oswaldo Cabrera because the steals. Cabrera does have more power, but he's not, lighting it up or anything like that. And Garcia is showing at least a little power. So I still like Garcia best, especially because run scoring potential, hitting leadoff most days.
All right, fantasy sports again. Head-to-head points, Raleigh or Wilson Contreras?
Hey, Raleigh's a guy starting to heat up, possibly. We'll see. But in a points league, I think I'm just going to take Contreras. Just very solid and no concerns with him.
All right, and then Solomon Grundy again, De La Cruz, Conforto, Winker, or Haniger?
Yeah, that's a tough one. These guys are all pretty close. I think right now, again, I'll say the same thing. You're all guys you can just pluck off waivers. Ride the hot hand while it's hot. Go Winker. As soon as he cools down, falls back down to earth, you can flip him. I probably would go Haniger next. But again, just get the pulse of that offense, see how they're doing. Right now, Winker's on fire. Play him, and then be ready to pivot.
All right, there you go. And then Wilson, probably our last one of the day. We'll see. She trade Abrams, McMahon, and Robert for Simeon, Cabrera, and Diaz.
Okay, Abrams, McMahon, and I guess Luis Robert.
Yeah, Luis Robert. Yeah, he followed it up right there. Luis Robert.
Okay, so he's going to be out several weeks, but still. Okay, for Simeon, Cabrera, and Diaz. All right, so this is... Well, I don't like this better than the last one because you're getting Simeon, but you're giving up two more players now. Luis Robert, I know he's going to be out, but still, second half, you're probably going to want him. So, no, I don't think I really love this trade for you. I don't know that it helps you enough.
All right, and then we'll finish with this. Cedric saying he's got Salvi for catcher. By the way, my team is stacked. Thanks to you and a couple others. He's 2-0. Love to hear it. All right, and we love to be here chatting baseball, answering your questions with you guys. Don't forget, we will be back Wednesday. And if you are into fantasy football and you need a break from baseball, we're going to go do an underdog draft right now. And don't forget, we also have the NFL draft this week, so we'll be streaming that as well. And we'll be back Sunday. Okay, this guy. Okay, don't spam. We love to answer questions, but we don't love to answer questions when you spam the chat. So please don't do that. I tried to give you a chance and you failed. So, anyways, we'll be back Wednesday to answer more of your baseball questions. We're here every Wednesday, every Sunday, going live. Of course, Pierre's putting out videos almost every day during the week, 5 times a week. Everything you need, waiver wire trades. What else? Maybe we'll do some streamers. Beat the breakout, which is one of my favorites. Grab guys before they break out. Always one of my favorites. And, of course, another reminder, if you haven't tried it yet, go to Underdog. So the game has started, but you can still do in-game picks on Underdog. They have in-game going on right now. Just make sure you sign up with our promo code Endgame. You get that deposit match up to $100. So they're going to give you free money. It's a lot of fun. You just make some picks, higher or lower, on different stats, and good chance to I don't know if I can say win, earn some money there. Earn some money there, and it's a lot of fun. And like I said, they're going to give you free money just to try it out, and there's no catch. There's nothing like, hey, here's some free money. Like I know I used to sign up for betting sites, and they're like, here's some free money, but you have to bet X amount of dollars before we're going to actually give it to you. No, they just give it to you right away, and you can use it right now. So go check that out. Underdog Fantasy. All right, let's go one more. We got real quick. Dariel Santana, Sterling Marte, Wilver Abreu, Bader, or Carpenter in a head-to-head Roto League. Last one.
Yeah, I'll put this in the chat here. Marte is looking like his vintage self. Pick up Marte. If he happens to be available, go get him.
All right, there we go, guys. We will see you back here on Wednesday. Have a good night.